Alright, what's up everyone? So today's the last day before I leave for the week, or can I say for the month until July 2nd. So before leaving, I wanted to end off with the stream because I'm not going to be active for the next week. So I want you guys to give a chance for me to ask, what stocks you want for me to chart, what questions you may have about my trading style, or just about the stock market in general. And I already see a few questions in the chat, which is fine. Before we get started, I just wanted to talk about Bitcoin. As you may know, I might be a little obsessed to it, but the reason is because Bitcoin is playing just exactly how I wanted to play, and usually Bitcoin doesn't really want to do that. Currently, Bitcoin today actually retested the megaphone resistance, which is good news because we actually did bounce from it. You can see that Bitcoin is currently at 33K. I can see it going all the way up to 36K. You can say this is kind of like an inverse head and shoulders forming, though we need to see where it's actually going to hold. Currently, Bitcoin does look really good. We did just start off the 4-hour candlestick and we did kind of go down, which is normal. But as I said yesterday, this wick over here, this candlestick over here was really strong because there's this giant wick, but we still ended up closing green as a candlestick, and this is on the 4-hour chart, so this is actually really good for Bitcoin, and sure enough we did surge right after that. So that's basically what happened with Bitcoin. We made this healthy retest and we held. So Bitcoin did break the 9 EMA, which means that we are in an uptrend now. On the daily chart for Bitcoin, we did death cross, but death crosses aren't always bad. It might signify that the worst has just been over. As you can see, this also kind of looks like a bear flag to me too, but this candlestick over here, this wick, does show that Bitcoin does still have strength in it, and it can still go into a bull trend. So who knows, maybe next week Bitcoin's gonna start testing 40K again, which is gonna be great. But we need the general sentiment for crypto to be good, and we need news for crypto to be good, because Bitcoin is driven by news most of the time, and also because of miners too. The hash rates for Bitcoin has been going down a lot since China has been kicking out miners. So once miners start relocating into like Miami, into Texas, those areas where mayors, governors are they're just encouraging miners to move there, and they're giving out tax breaks. Once miners actually start relocating and there's positive news, that's when Bitcoin is actually going to start being able to break to the 40K to the 50K level. So that's basically it. So I do see a bunch of chats right now, so I'm going to chart the first stock I see, and that is Ford. Does it still have an entry for tomorrow? So I don't even know how Ford did today, so let's take a look. Ooh, okay. So Ford did surge today. It looks like it broke out of this consolidation over here. And this consolidation actually has been consolidating for a long time now. You can see that it started from June 4th all the way till June 18th, so about like 2 weeks. We did break out of this consolidation today, so if you actually draw a channel right now, roughly around like this price over here, so you can be a bit more biased and like call this wick over here. Does look like a descending broadening wedge, but it also looks like a parallel channel to me. And we did just break out today. So what does this mean? Well, usually once a stock consolidates for this long on this large of a time frame, usually the run is also going to be a long time. So I can still see Ford running tomorrow, but it is important to look at a smaller time frame to see what Ford is doing. On a smaller time frame, it doesn't look as nice. You see that Ford is kind of rounding, it's forming like a rounded top area kind of over here. You can see it's starting to lose momentum. It did, however, hold the 9 EMA. It closed right above it, which is good news because the 9 EMA acts as support of an uptrend. So as long as Ford stays above the 9 EMA and holds, I can still see it go up. So we just have to see how the market is tomorrow as a whole, because the market actually does affect Ford. And, on a larger time frame, Ford is kind of overbought. So, a consolidation pullback is kind of necessary, but on the daily charts, Ford is approaching the 70 level on the RSI, but there's still a lot of more room to go. I can see Ford either double topping over here, or it can break to new all-time highs. I don't know if Ford ever Okay, no, not new all-time highs, but new like highs this year. So new 52-week highs. So that's basically what I see on Ford. This consolidation is giving Ford a lot of more bullish momentum, so I do see Ford. If I turn on volume, actually, volume does look really good. You can see throughout this consolidation, volume actually decreases, and whenever volume decreases, that shows that a breakout is about to happen. So from here to here, volume does decrease, which means that a breakout is about to happen, and sure enough, we did break out. So I am expecting more from Ford, but depending on market conditions, depending on a bunch of different factors, we can see like a slow ride for Ford. Like, over here for this run, Ford did have like two red days, a red day. So it's entirely possible we have a red day tomorrow, but in the long term, around like a month from now, I can see Ford at least touching $16 or 16.50, like going up $1. Baba. Alright, so let's take a look at Baba. Alright, so I did draw this descending broadening wedge for Baba on the daily. You see more detail on the 4-hour. We did break out of that broadening wedge today too, so we actually broke out of this consolidation. It did go up. This is on the 4-hour, which means that breakout's probably going to last a lot longer than that. You can see that the 9 EMA is also crossing the 21 EMA to the upside, which also signifies that an uptrend is forming right now. Usually when the 9 EMA crosses the 21, that shows that uptrend is here. And the larger time frame you are on, the more reliable it is. So like over here, when the 9 actually crossed to the 21 to the downside, Baba actually crashed a lot more. I have no idea where all these drawings came from, but let me try to find an example of when it crossed to the upside. So when it crossed to the upside, you can see the 9 crossed to 21 to the upside, somewhere around here in this jumble of mess. Maybe if I turn on logarithmic charts, it would help, but somewhere over here. And sure enough, Baba had this giant run upwards. If this does manage to get more momentum, and this 9 EMA does manage to cross the 21, we can see Baba starting to have a reversal. You can say this is kind of like a double bottom down here. It can run up to like $237 and retest this resistance. But on the 4-hour chart, it does look like the 9 is about to cross the 21, and it actually hasn't done that since June 1st, where it actually gapped up. So this one actually doesn't even count, but like when it legit actually broke it based on momentum was over here. So we just have to see on Baba. Baba did gap up a lot. It can also go down and fill the gap, so you have to wait for confirmation for that to happen. Boeing. Let's take a look at BA. So BA, I think I did see a rising wedge. I did. Okay, so if you go on the 1-hour chart, you can see that Boeing did form a rising wedge today. It did break out. It started bear flagging over here and immediately went back down. You can also say the market kind of pulled it down today, which I do think it did. Near the end of the day, SPY, Dow, and the Nasdaq all tanked. I'm not really sure the reason why. I'm pretty sure it's based on news, but I didn't really pay attention to the market near the end because I was actually outside, so I wasn't really paying attention, but I'm pretty sure it was based on news and Boeing kind of went along with it. But based on technicals, Boeing did break out of this rising wedge today and went down. How I see Boeing in the next few days, if I go on the 1-day chart, Boeing did manage to kind of close right on top of the 21 EMA. You can either see it go right back down to the 50 EMA around $241, or you see it bounce up. If I look at flow, which I can do right now, let me take a look real quick. Give me 1 second. Boeing flow, let me take a look. Give me 1 moment. Sorry, my computer's being slow. Ooh, okay, so around 3:30ish, you do see a bunch of calls being bought. These are pretty low premiums though, 31K, 41K, that's basically rookie numbers. But at 357, 347, around that area, there were puts being bought. They were also pretty low premium. None of them actually exceeded 100K. Most of the over 100Ks are the sells. But if you look at the expiration date, let me see, these puts are expiring 2022, which means that these are most likely swings. These puts bought over here are weeklies, which means that whoever bought these puts do think that Boeing's probably going to go down this week, maybe as soon as tomorrow. These calls over here all expire July 2nd, June 25th. So maybe these calls were bought before, the market started tanking at like somewhere around like 340-ish, 350. That's also when you see that, someone sold these calls. But you can see that all of these calls actually haven't been sold yet, which means that they can be holding and they're comfortable that's going to bounce off. But taking into consideration that these premiums aren't actually a lot, because 31K may seem like a lot, but to hedge funds, they're like nothing. So if you look at, calls or puts over $1 million, none of the calls or puts bought were actually over $1 million. So so at the end of the day, I think Boeing's just choppy. I think it's going to go either way. But while I do see, look at the pattern of Boeing, you can see that it broke out of this rising wedge today. It kind of played this bear flag over here. So you can basically see it's still within the bear flag over here. So we have more downwards movement to go. But if it does go all the way back down, you can qualify this as an inverse cup and handle, which is even more bearish. Pingdodo. Okay, let's look at Pingdodo. So, I immediately see a pennant over here. Pennants are usually bullish or bearish depending on what trend it is, but pennants are a lot more neutral than you think it is. Like this bullish pennant can very well play to the downside depending on market conditions. But if I go in the smaller time frame, you can see that, it kind of rejected today. You can say this is kind of like a bull flag, but I am kind of skeptical because it did go all the way down here, which kind of ruins it. But breakout is going to be tomorrow at pre-market. I'm pretty sure this is going to instead gap up or gap down by breaking out this pennant. It's probably not going to stay flat and break out that way. I'm pretty sure it's going to break out before markets even open. So, playing calls or puts, that might be a little too late. Currently for, PDD, I do see kind of like an inverse head and shoulders over here. It is kind of questionable. This shoulder kind of is questionable, but it does qualify as one. And you do see this bullish pennant, so a breakout is going to be happening soon. It can either break down and, double bottom down here, or it can break up and, kind of test this gap over here actually. So that's what I see for Pingdodo. Apple. Alright, so for Apple, I don't even know what line I drew over here. So for Apple, I did draw like kind of like this like big pennant. Looks like it did break out today and kind of retested and held. So Apple did in a way break out today. If I kind of be more biased, and I don't even think I can be biased on this because it did break out today. Yeah, it did break out today. So I can delete these lines. I can take a look at a smaller time frame. So if we go into hourly chart, alright, so Apple is consolidating over here. It's holding the 9 EMA, which is good. That means that it is still in an uptrend. You can kind of see that it is kind of, let's see here. You can see that there is descending resistance, which I guess you can draw it like that. There's also ascending support, though it did kind of break it near market close. But if we be a little bit more biased here, you can say that it's still within support. It's like barely there. So you can say that there's another pennant forming for Apple, which is neutral. But since we were in the uptrend, there's more of a chance for this to break up. But as you can see, it has kind of broken support a little bit. It's like right on there. It's holding it on for dear life. So it is really, it depends on if Apple gaps up or gaps down. If it gaps up, it still has resistance to break. If it gaps down, it just completely invalidates this pennant. And I can see Apple gapping down to like $133 if it does gap down. But you just have to see if Apple is flat tomorrow pre-market, or if it gaps up, it needs to break somewhere around $134 in order for this pattern to play out. But I always suggest waiting for confirmation before playing a stock. Fubo. Alright, so Fubo actually had a bullish pennant today, and it actually broke to the downside, which is why I always say pennants are more of a neutral pattern than you may think it is. You see that this pennant over here did break to the downside even though we were going up. So this was and also this could have actually looked like a cup and handle actually. This looked like a really nice cup and handle, but it ended up breaking to the downside along with the market. So what do I see now? So I think Wall Street bet stocks were pumping a lot. On Fubo there is support. Let me draw this out. There is support kind of around where it is right now, though it is kind of questionable. There's only 2 points, so anything can happen with this. But if it does bounce off support, I can see an ascending triangle forming, kind of like this over here, which I guess looks pretty interesting. But that, and keep in mind this is on the 15-minute. If I go on the 4-hour chart, okay, that looks a lot different actually. So yeah, I didn't really realize it was on the 15-minute, but if I go out, you can kind of see there's ascending resistance over here, in a way, kind of like this, and it's really interesting. I don't actually see anything. I don't that resistance is questionable because of these two wicks. But if I go on the daily chart, oh, okay, I see now. Okay, okay, so Fubo on the daily chart does look really good. There's the first shoulder, the head. Here's the second shoulder. So Fubo actually did an inverse head and shoulders breakout today. I guess it's kind of still consolidating a little bit, but on the 1-day chart, on the large time frame, I do see an inverse head and shoulders. This is bullish. In order for me to actually play a call on this and be confident with it, it's going to have to break this 34.6 level. So as long as it breaks 34.6, I'm going to be swinging this as a call. I don't think it broke out of this inverse head and shoulders just yet because, you know, we were still struggling today with going up. But once it breaks this level of like 34.5, 34.6, this area, that's when I'm actually going to be bullish on Fubo. So currently it does look really good. Inverse head and shoulders are bullish, and you know, I will be a bull once it breaks this. And keep in mind, inverse head and shoulders can always, you know, invalidate itself. Intel. Okay, so Intel has been an interesting one because Intel actually had an inverse head and shoulders before it actually broke down because of the SPY crash. Currently, I do see Intel as support. It just held it today. You can also see a kind of double bottom over here. Also, on a smaller time frame, you can see there is a broadening wedge on Intel, which is good news. It is a bullish pattern. So you can see supports over here. Resistance is over here. So this looks like a descending broadening wedge, which is bullish. As you can see, Bitcoin played this, SPY played this, and now Intel's also playing this. So I can see a breakout with Intel soon. You can see there's a double bottom, and Intel's right along resistance, so this is good. Intel can break out anytime soon. There is a gap for Intel to fill from 56 all the way up to 57, so that's a $1 gap, which is a lot for a $55 stock. So I can see Intel breaking out of this sometime soon, this week probably, if we do hold the double bottom down here. But I do see it breaking out like at least till next, at the most, like at the longest time, like next week I think. But yeah, currently I do see a descending broadening wedge, which is bullish. JetBlue. Okay, so that is along with airlines. Usually airlines do go in sync with Boeing. I had no idea what I drew here, but on JetBlue I do see consolidation over here. If I go in a larger time frame, you can see this does look like a bear flag over here, and you know, it's been a downtrend. There's a bear flag forming, so I do expect this to go down even more, especially with Boeing going down. This is a big rounded top. Doesn't look like it actually found a bottom just yet. I do see a bottom of JetBlue around, around $16.72. So it has to drop another like 80 cents. Not 80 cents, like 70 cents, 60 cents. My math is pretty bad. 60 cents until it does find a bottom. Though it can also surprise me a little bit, and let me see if I see a pattern. Yeah, no, I don't really see any pattern besides this bear flag over here. Maybe if I go on a smaller time frame, I can see something else, but yeah, I see a bear flag forming. I think it's going to go down. I think it's going to go down along with Boeing. ATVI, I'm pretty sure this is like Applied Materials or something. Oh no, it's not. It's Activision. Okay. Okay. I see a falling wedge over here. It's kind of messy, but let me just adjust this real quick. So here's the support line for the falling wedge, and the resistance is kind of messier. So this is resistance over here. So currently ATVI is approaching the breakout. In fact, I think it is going to break out tomorrow. In fact, I think it's either going to gap up or gap down tomorrow a lot. It's either going to gap up where it's going to break this falling wedge. It might do a retest, a gap fill at open, but I do expect this to gap up tomorrow. If not, it's going to break out tomorrow to the upside. And I do see it going to somewhere around $92 for the first run. If I go back to historical supports and resistances, it can go to $94. As I said, $91, $60, $92, like around that region over there. But I do see this breaking out pretty soon. If it doesn't break out, well, then, you know, it has a lot more room to go down. There's like there's a bear gap of, is that a gap? Actually, no, that's not a gap, never mind. Actually, there is a gap. There is a bull gap over here from $88 all the way to $89. So there's a $1 gap down here. So if ATVI doesn't break out, or it does break out, but it's breaking out really weakly, then I do see it going back down, possibly double bottoming here. But currently, I do see RSI below oversold, so that gives me another reason to think that this is going to break to the upside. And also, you can see that on TTM squeeze, the bars are starting to flatten out, which means that bear momentum is starting to fade away. Also, another thing to pay attention to is volume is actually slowly decreasing, which signals that a breakout is about to happen. So we are going to see some movement on this either today or tomorrow. I'm more leaning towards tomorrow. Sorry, tomorrow or the day after tomorrow. What am I saying? Bitcoin. Okay, so I did look at Bitcoin before this before I start answering questions, but I can quickly go over it again. On Bitcoin, as I can see, you know, first of all, there was this broadening wedge. I really bought the dip over here when it actually touched the broadening wedge's support. At the time when Bitcoin had this giant red candlestick, a lot of people were like, oh, this is impossible. Bitcoin's going to go all the way down to 23K. Like, no technical analysis matters. But I was like, you know what? It's been playing this for a pretty long time, and I think it's going to, you know, bounce. And sure enough, it did bounce. In fact, this 4-hour candlestick is beautiful. There's a giant wick down here, but we still ended up closing green, which signifies that Bitcoin bulls are starting to take over. You can see that Bitcoin did retest the broadening wedge's resistance today. It successfully held, and currently it is 30 minutes into the 4-hour candlestick, but as you can see, it is pretty normal for Bitcoin to start red but still end green. So we just have to hold this 9 EMA over here. We have to hold 33.3K in order for us to still be in an uptrend. I do see that volume is actually decreasing, so we are pricing in for some movement. And also the TTM squeeze isn't looking as strong as I would like it to be. So we can still end up going back into this, you know, channel. And if I kind of adjust my resistance a little bit, you can kind of see that it kind of went back in. So we just have to wait. Bitcoin does have, if Bitcoin does successfully hold and it goes up, it needs to break 34K at first, then 35K, and then 36.2K, 36.3K in order for us to keep going up. But in the long term, I am bullish on Bitcoin. So in the short term, it might suck, but in the long term, it's going to do just fine. Oracle. All right, let's take a look at Oracle real quick. Ooh, okay, so for Oracle, I did chart out a rising wedge on it, and sure enough, it did break out today. Now, how far is it going to drop? So, it did break the, let's see, on the hourly, it looks like the 9 EMA is wanting to cross the 21, which means that there's a lot more room to fall for Oracle. If I go in the larger time frame on the 4-hour chart, there's really no direction Oracle can go. There's really no clear direction I know where it's going to go. You can also debate that this is kind of like a bull flag. It did hold the 50 EMA today, which is good. If it holds tomorrow, I can see this going testing back to $78.70 and potentially fill this gap over here. But on a shorter time frame, this doesn't really look so nice, especially with this breaking the 21 EMA and it also rejected the 9 EMA actually today. So on the hourly chart, Oracle is in a bear trend right now. And once the 9 EMA crosses the 21 EMA, that confirms that Oracle is in a downtrend. So we're just going to have to see, and TTM squeeze also doesn't look so nice for Oracle. But yeah, on every single time frame, Oracle is in a bear pattern now. So as long as Oracle holds this 50 EMA, we can see some movement upwards, but currently I am a bear on Oracle. Why did Tesla break out today? Tesla broke out today because of news, I think. I think it was because one of the Tesla Model 3s actually, I think it was like rated like the #1 car or something, so Tesla reacted really nice. Because Tesla was thirsty for good news today, and for like the whole like 2021, and it finally got some. So that's why we were up like around like 25 to like $30 today. Cause I chart Tesla, so I did kind of chart Tesla in the beginning, I think, but I can definitely look at it again. On the short time frame, I do see a rising wedge on Tesla, which is gonna go for a pullback, possibly testing the 9 EMA again, so that we can be in an uptrend. If we manage to break the 9 EMA, I do expect this gap to somehow get filled. So currently I do see a rising wedge, which is bearish. So let's see how this plays out, and hopefully it surprises me and continues to go up. But currently I do see a rising wedge. And Roku. Ooh, okay, so Roku had a field day today. Okay, so I also see a rising wedge on Roku. If I go in the 3-hour time frame, that's not really helpful. 4-hour time frame? No, okay. Alright, let me stay on the hour time frame and I can chart out what I see. So from here all the way to here. So that's 1, 2, 3. 3 resistances touched. And supports, there's a lot more supports over here. I do see a rising wedge on Roku. I think it's going to break out around June 24th. Oh, so that's tomorrow? Okay, so tomorrow, Roku is going to break out of this rising wedge, either to the upside or to the downside. I think it's going to be to the downside, because rising wedges 9 out of 10 times do break out to the downside. Where to the downside, that is debatable. If we manage to gap up tomorrow, we're going to be filling the gap we make tomorrow. If it's going to be a really bloody day, then I expect it to, first of all, test the 9 EMA, second of all, if it can possibly fill this gap over here from, this is a red candlestick, so from 403 all the way to 406, so a $3 gap over here. Roku's usually good at filling gaps, I think. I mean, I think it's usually good at filling gaps, but this rising wedge here does not look so good. What are the 6 EMAs and MAs I use on the chart? So good question. So if I go on the daily chart, which is easier to read, maybe not on Roku. Let me go on SPY because it's more stable. The green line is the 9 EMA. It's a short-term moving average. You can use it as uptrend or downtrend for the short term. 21 EMA, it's also the same thing. It's short-term moving average. 50, that's where it starts getting more long-term. This one's the 100 EMA, 150 EMA, and 200 EMA. And as you can see, usually when SPY crashes or pulls back, it usually bounces off this 50 EMA. In fact, we did it just a few days ago. If it's something really bad, it usually bounces off the 100 EMA or the 150 EMA at most. If it's something really bad, the 200 EMA comes in as the last line of support. But also, if you go out in a few time frames, you can see that SPY has bounced off the 200 EMA after a crash. For this March pandemic crash on the monthly, it did bounce off the 100 EMA. So I use the moving averages, the exponential moving averages as short-term resistance or supports, or even long-term resistance or supports. Can I try Amazon? Let's see here, Amazon. I think it was Prime Day yesterday, so Amazon should be doing well with the catalyst. But on a larger time frame, I do see a rising wedge. In fact, I see a rising wedge on a lot of growth stocks, which is not going to be good for QQQ, but I'm just trying to figure out where to draw the resistance. This looks pretty good. Supports. So I do see a rising wedge on Amazon. If I go to a slightly smaller time frame, you can see that this rising wedge is playing out right now. I can see it breaking out as soon as tomorrow around like noon, afternoon. That's where I see Amazon kind of breaking out of this falling wedge and going to the downside. Depending on where, it can test the 9 EMA. I think it's going to go down and all the way test to the 21 EMA over here. I don't really see any, I guess I kind of see supports, kind of. Let me see. No, this is kind of too far, but... Alright, so, okay. I think Amazon's going to double top up here and break out this rising wedge at the same time. If I end at the body of this candlestick, you can see that it's at $3,526. I think it's going to double top here and perfectly break out of this falling wedge. So depending on where it breaks out from, I can see it testing the 9 EMA. If not the 9, then the 21 EMA. And also it depends on what kind of day we have tomorrow. We can easily gap down here and just not play out this upside because looks like we already actually double topped up here. So we can very well gap down tomorrow. Snapchat. Alright, so Snap actually went up based on some news, I think, along with Twitter and like Pinterest and like some other social media companies. What do I see on Snapchat if I go in the daily chart? You can see that it's kind of like a round the top kind of thing. Sorry, round the bottom. You can see that Snapchat has been struggling to get over this resistance for a couple of days now. Sorry, for a couple of months now, actually, since March, all the way till now. You can see Snapchat has been struggling to get over this $64.50 area. We just broke that today. So either we can see a retest tomorrow to this resistance again, or we see it testing all-time highs again, which is $73. That means that it is going to probably double top most likely and form some other pattern to possibly break it. But I am bullish on Snapchat. I think it's going to retest here. Or if it doesn't retest, it's going to keep going up. So that's where I see it tomorrow. Alright, next stock. And that is going to be, let's see, NEO. Alright. I'm pretty sure NEO also went up to, it did not. Okay. So NEO, I did draw this out a few days ago. It is a ascending broadening channel, which is bearish. It did kind of break out, but reclaimed it today. I still think it's still playing out. So in the coming days, I do see NEO going down. It does have a gap here to fill. It can possibly fill it. It is kind of far from it though. The gap is at $39, so it's going to have to drop $6. So I can possibly see it breaking out, but I do see NEO going down in a couple of days. So I did Snapchat already, but someone is asking lows. I think I'm pretty bullish on lows. The reason I am bullish on lows is because I'm bullish on Home Depot, and I think lows kind of has the same pattern. But Home Depot had a really large falling wedge that actually broke out. I see the same thing for lows. In fact, I think lows looks even better than Home Depot. So I am pretty bullish on lows. The resistance is kind of questionable, but you get the idea. Lows did kind of consolidate today, which is healthy because as you can see with this run over here, it did have a couple of red days, which is totally fine. But I am bullish on lows. I think lows is going to do really well, especially with bearish momentum dying down and RSI in the middle right here, which means that we have a lot more room to go up. Let's see here. SoFi, okay. Ooh, okay, so I do see consolidation over here. This does actually look like a cup and handle, actually. If I chart this out, if I get my drawing tool out, my arc, so you can see that this does look like a cup and handle. This is the cup over here. The handle is kind of just consolidation. You can see that there is kind of like descending resistance and ascending support. So this looks like a symmetrical triangle. Looks like we did kind of break through it today, but we did reclaim it. Either we can continue to go up, maybe hopefully claim the 9 EMA first and then break out. But this cup and handle breakout point is around $24.90. So let's say if it holds $25, that's where I'm bullish from, and then we can see it testing all-time highs. But this is a symmetrical triangle, which means that this is a neutral pattern. So we can also see a breakout to the downside. As we can see for Fubo, I think it wasn't Fubo, it was another stock. There was another stock that had I think it was Fubo actually. Was it Fubo? No, it wasn't Fubo. It was a different stock. I totally forgot what stock it was, but there was another stock where it did have a cup and handle pattern and a bullish falling, a bullish pennant, but it ended up breaking to the downside. So confirmation is important. Always wait for confirmation before you enter a trade because that's going to guarantee you to make money. Yes, confirmation does mean that you're not buying the bottom and selling the top, but it does mean that you're guaranteed to make money. Maybe a little less money, but a lot less riskier. Alright, next stock, and that is going to be, is the middle chart your TTM? So yes, this indicator over here is my TTM squeeze. Basically what this indicator is it measures which direction a stock is going to break out, and also the stock's momentum. The bar height is the momentum of the direction the stock is going. As you can see, TTM squeeze over here, the bar's a lot steeper than over here, but you know the stock is going down, so there is a divergence, which signals that a bottom is coming soon. As we get lower, there's really no purple bars forming over here, which means that bear momentum has died out, and we did reverse, and we did start going up. And you can see that bullish momentum is starting to die down, and we are almost approaching overbought. So, you know, whenever you do trade, don't only use one indicator to determine your trades. Use other indicators, use 3 indicators, use multiple indicators at a time to actually, you know, help you on the trade. And also, I also use flow to support my trade because that's going to provide me the maximum amount of confirmation. It's going to give me the least amount of risk when placing a trade. What setup am I using? What indicators? So I use the EMA indicators, the exponential moving averages. They basically provide you a good short-term or long-term resistance or support. I use the 9 EMA, which is the dark green one, the 21 EMA, the 100, the 50 EMA actually, the 100 EMA, the 150 EMA, and the 200 EMA. Can I check PG? I think that's Procter & Gamble. Yep. Alright, so, ooh, this looks interesting. So it has been going down because the Dow has been going down. It's because it is a value stock. On a smaller time frame, in a more short-term way, I don't really see anything. It looks interesting. Yeah, I don't really see anything. I do see it bottoming out around this support over here, which is good news. But I really don't see anything on Procter & Gamble. Yeah, I don't really see anything. You can potentially say there's a descending triangle forming, but you can kind of see there's like a wedge forming a descending triangle, but that's about it. I don't really see anything. QQQ. Alright, so this is where tech comes in. QQQ in the large time frame, on the weekly time frame actually. Let's see if it actually broke resistance today. Nope, QQQ held resistance. It rejected resistance today, so this rising wedge is still in play. If I draw out support, which is a little bit more questionable, you can see that QQQ is right at resistance, so I am expecting QQQ to be red tomorrow. But, you know, QQQ has room all the way to go down to 337. As this rising wedge plays out, I can see QQQ breaking out of this wedge around August 9th. As we've been saying, I am expecting, well, as a lot of traders have been saying, they are expecting a correction somewhere around the end of summer, you know, early August, maybe late August, maybe even September. That's where we're expecting a correction. And as we look at QQQ's chart, we do see a rising wedge on the weekly, which is pretty bearish. Weekly time frame is a lot, so a correction can occur. I think it's going to happen. So around like August 8th, August 10th, that kind of week, I do expect a pretty red week for QQQ. But on a shorter time frame, I do see QQQ consolidating. It is right at resistance though, so I am expecting QQQ to be red tomorrow. In fact, let me check out futures right now actually. Futures for QQQ is so far pretty green. QQQ is up 0.22%, which is pretty green for futures. So maybe we might be able to retest resistance again, maybe open green and then reject, but I do see QQQ rejecting tomorrow. What is the flow indicator? The flow indicator, it's basically, I use the live flow, which is options flow. It basically shows you large hedge funds, what they buy. It basically gives me another layer of confirmation for my trades because hedge funds know what they're buying. They basically control the market. So whenever there's a really large order like 900K or even $1 million, and there's like an expiry that's like pretty recent. So if I short expiry over $1 million, there's really nothing. But maybe for SPY there's going to be something. No, there isn't. So usually over $1 million, which means that hedge funds know what they're doing and that stock is probably going to go in the direction they buy. So I see 4 puts worth over $1 million, 2 of them worth 2 million, 3 million. So this was actually bought at 3:12 p.m. So if we take a look at SPY at 3:12 p.m. At 3:15, so this was 3:15, SPY was actually pumping. And these $1 million puts were actually bought at 3:12. So they were bought, so SPY started tanking at 3:30. So these puts were bought 15 minutes before SPY had these giant red candlesticks. So this is how I can use flow, 2 million, 3 million, all these $1 million contracts expiring pretty recent actually. July 16th is actually pretty recent for a contract worth over $1 million. So this one actually played out really nice. I see these couple $1 million puts coming in, and sure enough, 15 minutes later, SPY tanked. So that's how I use flow. I look at these giant orders and kind of determine which direction I think a stock is going to go. Can you show me my setup for TradingView? Of course I can. So for my setup, time frames I use for day trades, I usually use the 3-minute, 5-minute, 15-minute, 30 minutes, and 1 hour time frame. I don't usually use the 1 minute time frame because for some stocks like QQQ, it works well. For other stocks like Fubo, it looks like this and it's untradeable. For swing trades, I usually use the 1 hour chart, the 3 hours chart, the 4 hour, and the 1 day chart. Swing trading is basically trades where I open on a specific day and I sell on a different day, maybe a few days later, maybe a few weeks later. So that's basically the time frames I use. If the indicators I use are the exponential moving averages, I use the 9 EMA, the 21, the 50, the 100, the 150, and the 200. I also use the TTM squeeze indicator and I use the RSI indicator. RSI indicator basically shows you when a stock is overbought or oversold. If the line is over the level of 70, which is this dotted line up here, that shows that the stock is overbought. If the line is below 30, which is this dotted line over here, shows that the stock is oversold and there's going to be a bounce soon. Currently for Fubo, it is approaching the 70 mark on the daily chart actually, which is pretty large. And you can see it's also approaching the neckline of this inverse head and shoulders. So I am expecting a pullback for Fubo pretty soon. How about LEV? Let's take a look at LEV. Line Electric. This looks like an interesting stock. It is a penny stock or like a relatively low cap stock. You can say there is a cup and handle forming over here. I see this cup and handle forming. Here's the cup. And in the handle, there's consolidation over here. Looks like a bull flag to me. So in order for this to break, I need to see this break over $19.30 and hold it there. I think it can run up to $19.42. As long as this cup and handle, the handle holds resistance, which is $19 basically. It needs to at the least hold $18.90. Do you have the code for your indicators? I don't code for my indicators. I also use the free version of TradingView. I don't think the premium version of TradingView is necessary. The free version gets it done. I don't code for my trading the indicators. I just click the indicators tab and just look for the indicators. I do save a bunch of indicators, so that's that. But yeah, I do use the free version of TradingView. Alright, so it looks like it is almost 9 o'clock. If there are no questions anymore, then I am going to end it here. If you guys have any other questions, you guys can always DM me. I'll check my DMs next week. Even though I'm not alerting, I can still check my DMs. Also, if you guys enjoy this stream and you want me to stream even next week when I'm gone, because I might have some time at night to stream. So if you guys do want to see another stream, make sure to like this stream so you guys show that you guys actually want to see another stream. Let's say if I get over 15 likes, I'm going to stream again next week. I might need to pick a date depending on my availability, but if we get over 15 likes, I am going to stream again next week. But until then, I'll see you soon then. Alright, so see you guys in the chats. If you guys have any questions, you guys can always DM me on Discord. I will be checking DMs, I just won't be alerting. But until then, I'll see you guys in July.